Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here to pass on some of my ideas and how I've been able to reach this point in my life and where I'm at. The basic theme that I'm going to pass on, for starters, is one chance to live. Every day we wake up in this wonderful, fantastic, special, incredible life that we're all blessed to be a part of. And sadly, often we're taking this for granted. It's just another day, what's happening, a bit of this, bit of that, bit of the other thing. How often do we ever ponder how precious, how special, how amazing this incredible life actually is? So if you had one chance to live, what would you do? So I pose this question today. I'm going to use some skydiving and base jumping references in my talk, but apply this to your own lives as well. Use these things as a metaphor and think about how it is you live your own lives. As was stated in the introduction, I'm a professional skydiver and base jumper. It's an exciting life. And how did I get to that stage of my life? Well, it all came around from basic dreams that I had when I was a kid. I had 4 dreams that I really wanted to do. I'd been inspired by things I'd seen on TV. The Blue Stratus commercial led to my wish to do some hang gliding. Watching Jacques Cousteau programs, Mum getting us up in the middle of the night to watch whales in a French accent. Just amazing. And being sitting there just going blown away. Mountaineering after hearing Edmund Hillary's exploits. And of course skydiving. And I'd seen that on the $6 Million Man. Yes, I've been around for that long. So these were all some of the dreams that I really, really wanted to get into when I was a kid. But as a kid, I had no idea how to live my dreams, how to breathe life into a dream and make that a reality. And it was something I never taught. I just ended up figuring it out. So hopefully I'll just pass on a few of the basic ideas that led to being able to live these dreams. Skydiving was the first one of these 4 things that I got into. Saved off all of my lawn mowing money as a school kid. And because I was under 18, had to go and race off and go see Mum with an authorisation form because I was too young to go off and do it myself. Mum, you've got to sign this. Oh, what's that, dear? Oh, I'm going skydiving, you've got to sign it. Oh, I don't know if I want to. Well, I'm going to forge your signature if you don't, so you might as well. So that's how I got Mum on side. That was a great way to get into it. Became part of the New Zealand parachute team in the early 90s, and this really taught me teamwork. Skydiving is one of those sports where every time you go out and do it, every time you jump out of that plane, you've got one chance to live. You are technically dead until you do something. Free falling through the air. That's the honest truth. Have you ever thought of that? You jump out of a plane, woo, here comes the planet. 200 kilometres an hour, it's not slowing down unless you do something about it. And once you have that philosophy in your head that I can do something about it and I feel capable enough in myself that I can do something about this, then that opens up the world to skydiving. One chance at life. As an aircraft engineer, it is also one chance. Every time hundreds of people climb into an airliner that I've been working on, I had one chance to do a perfect job of what I was doing before that takes off with hundreds of people to travel around the world. One chance. But if you do that 100% job, then that one chance is all you need. You don't need any more. That's how full-on, adventurous, high-stakes things can be achieved successfully. I came to Queenstown and became a full-time freefall cameraman and tandem skydiving instructor. Oh my goodness, gee whiz, what a place. Coming down here, running around with all sorts of adventure heads, spending time in the sky, falling at 200 kilometres an hour, taking wonderful photos of my friends. It was just absolutely amazing. But then in 1997, everything changed. I fell off my motorbike. No joke. It completely changed my life. If there was one thing that has changed my life more than anything else, it was this particular moment. I went from skydiving every day it was sunny, to all of a sudden I was hospitalised, flat on my back. Life had slowed right down. But I tell you what, there are different ways of looking at this. I could have looked at it as if it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Oh, poor me. Poor me, poor me. Flat on my back, I'm screwed now. But you can actually see in that photograph, I've got a big smile on my face. You know why? I was still alive. Yeah, good news. Which also meant that I had another chance to live. Also meant I was on bonus days. You know what it's like to be on bonus days? It's like getting the extra scoop of ice cream. It's like, woo! Bonus days. And really, this was the biggest opportunity that I'd ever had in my life, because it made me stop and look at everything that I did in life and the fact that I could go off in new directions. One chance to live. It gave me an opportunity to look at all of my dreams and design a whole new life. What is it that I want to do? So how do you go about finding a new dream? And I challenge anyone that's thinking of a new dream, what do you do? Be creative, be imaginative. Out of all the things in the whole wide world, what is it that you'd love to do? Now, I discovered when I was at school, at the same time as my teachers were filling out my school report, that I did really well in the things that I was interested in and the things that I loved, and not so hot at things like English, a distraction in class. Think schoolwork is a joke, and a C to match. Whereas things that I really enjoyed, like tech drawing, 87%. Gee whiz, excellent exam results, well done. Right, so it was a simple thing for me. Do what I loved, do what I was good at. So I got into photography, and that's something that suited my condition at the time, seeing as I still wasn't really being able to run around, and this was as I was recovering. Got onto being a cameraman, a video cameraman at the same time, getting to see wonderful parts of New Zealand, and aviation. Oh, gee whiz. I love being up in the air. The view you get, it changes your whole view of the world. You get a much bigger view of the planet, looking down on it. Same in high places and being in the mountains. And it was something that I could also do sitting down, flying a plane with a neck injury. It's soft and gentle, it's high speed, it's 3D, it's just, can't get enough of it. And then skydiving. As I got fitter and fitter back into the skydiving, started jumping wingsuits in the early days of wingsuits, and that completely changed everything that I could do in the skydiving sense. To be able to do these things, to live these new dreams, or any kind of a dream, you've got to get past the barriers and fears that we often place in front of ourselves, that we keep clutching onto as an excuse for not pushing ourselves further to reach that next goal. It's like, I've always wanted to do that, but I just haven't had the time. I've heard it time and time again. That's bollocks. Those things haven't happened because something hasn't been important enough for you to make the time. And if a dream is worth pursuing, it's worth getting past these fears. So how do we get past these fears? And if I'm fearful of something, it's because I'm lacking knowledge in something. So to get past my fears is all about knowledge and learning a new skill. Jumping off a cliff, I learned skills from skydiving that I could then transfer into the basejumping world. That bit where you look off the edge, you go, oh. Have you ever imagined what that must feel like? My mum used to be terrified of us going anywhere near any edges. Oh, come back from there. And I was like, oh. And it's a forbidden place. You're not supposed to go there. I was always taught if you jumped off that cliff, you're going to die. But with the right gear, the right equipment and the right training, you can actually live out off the edge. Believing you can is a huge part of the dreams that I've been able to pursue. And just because someone else doesn't believe in the dream that I hold, doesn't mean it can't be done. I do my best not to buy into other people's fears. or other people's belief systems. I like to draw on all of the things that I've learned through my time on this planet. One of the biggest things was the philosophy of 100% that I learned at Air New Zealand as an aircraft engineer. Our instructor wrote 99.9% excellence up on the board one day and asked us what we all thought of that. Wicked, 99.9%, what do you think? Pretty hot? Now, if you're prepared to accept that, 1 plane in 1,000 would have a crash or a defect, we were told. And that is 1 plane a day at Heathrow because they have 1,000 movements a day. And all of a sudden it came home to us. It's 100% or nothing. And that is how safety in aviation, safety in skydiving or base jumping, or anything else that I do in my life works. As far as believe you can, I developed this idea every time I went to a Red Bull event and stood underneath one of those wigwam tents that's in the background behind the smiling Cheshire cat, that it's about the same size as a parachute. It's about the same shape as a parachute. I reckon you can do a parachute jump with one of these things. So I kept talking to the Red Bull guys, like, let's do this as a project. And all I got was the 1,000-yard stare. And comments like, you really scare us some days. But I believed in it so much, I got my hands on a decommissioned tent, 100-yard roller parachute line, went to see an upholsterer, and he sewed some lines in it for me and sewed up all the rips, which was why it was decommissioned, packed it into a bag, and got up the top of Coronet Peak with Dominic Ella, local paragliding pilot, took off and flew to the flight park, got over the flight park at 1,000 feet, and this is one of these times where you can talk about stuff as much as you like, but it's the doing. That's where dreams come together. It's ideas that create realities, thoughts and ideas, but it's the actions that really bring the ideas to life. So I pulled the handle, fell away, woohoo! Wicked, worked. I told you. There was, and this is the fruition of a dream, a wild idea I'd had. And I believed in it so much, I didn't listen to all of the people who didn't believe it either. So I just got out there, made the most of it and did it. And just for safety, because you've got to be sensible when it comes to being silly, I believe. Because if you're sensible, you can do ridiculously silly things as long as you're sensible. I used my second parachute for a nice soft landing. Fantastic. Not stupid, eh? Not as dumb as I look, not completely. It's also determination to get things done, to follow something, to achieve a result, get to the end. These things don't happen by themselves. It takes work and energy. A dream is just a dream until you put effort into it to actually create that reality and make it work. I got involved with 2 other Queenstown pilots, and between us we formed a syndicate and bought a microlight kit set. And as an aircraft engineer, wicked, I'll build this, fantastic, I'll have it done in a year, no worries, watch this. Whew, well, the first year came and went, and okay, it'll take a little bit longer. And then the second year came and went, and oh gee whiz, and something like this, a huge job will never ever get finished unless a huge amount of effort and determination gets put into it. It's also, I had to learn a whole bunch of new things. If you look closely in that wall in the background, you can see the holes that the snow blows in during the winter. No falling. There's no point putting a heater out there. It's just determination to get out in the shed nearly every day to make it all happen. And learning new skills along the way. As an aircraft engineer working on jets, I was pretty hot on alloy aircraft. But this is a whole different ball game. I had to learn fabric covering, painting, how to wire up an airplane, all of these things, and they were new to me, but there's so much learning that's available to all of us these days, especially through the internet, that you can sit down and pick up all of these new ideas. And can you imagine what it's like to hop in it that very first time after 3 years, 4 months, 12 days, roughly, which is roughly how long it took. That exciting moment when you've put this thing together, it's taken that amount of time. And I believed that I'd done a 100% job. I was a test pilot, and it's my ass that's on the line when I go up there, fire the thing up and take it off the ground for the first time. And it's all about belief. I totally believed it was going to work. I believed in my ability, and I believed we would have a successful conclusion to that flight, and it was. And when I was in the shed building this thing, over those 3 years I had lots of dreams of the things I wanted to do with it once it was done. And before I actually shifted to Queenstown, I'd seen this most amazing film, The Leading Edge. One of the actors is sitting just over here somewhere, I can see you. Yes, and I love this film. In fact, it's still my favourite film. It showcases the art of adventure to me. And there was a shot of a Piper Cub flying down the summit ridge of Mount Cook. So once the test flying was finished, flew to Mount Cook, flew around and around it, flew down the summit ridge myself. I had got there. I had lived the dream that I'd seen when I was still living in Christchurch. I'd had to build a plane to do it, but I actually lived that dream, and something that I thought had been impossible up to that stage. I'd also dreamed of going to the west coast and catching some crayfish and some paua. Lived that dream also. So my big message is just go for it. Make the most of it. Get into it. What does this picture say to you? To me, that is 100% going for it. I went to China to go and jump into a cave in 2008. The world's biggest sinkhole, 668 metres deep. Jumping off a cable car, strung across this thing, into this crack at the bottom of a huge, huge cliff. And if you could see closely, right at the very bottom of that, there's a landing area that's about this big. And again, the only way that that jump would ever work is if I had 100% faith in my ability to get out there and go for it. And with something small like that, if that's all you've got, that's all you need. And then did some trapeze with a couple who came over who had done some training in trapeze, and that has been recognised in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's highest static trapeze act. That was another dream, was how to get into that book when I was a kid. Woo! So, one chance to live. I challenge you, what would you do if you had one chance to live? So I challenge everyone here to live the dream. I've spent my life doing this. I'm going to continue pursuing the dream. There's nothing quite like it. It has so many amazing rewards. I challenge everyone in here to get out there and go for it. I dare you. Thank you very much.